Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to the Dabs of Reality show. I'm your host Tom Crawshaw, and in today's episode I'm going to be sharing with you my biggest heroic dose of magic mushrooms to date. That's 7.5 grams dried. I believe these were psilocybin cubensis, and we got a whole lot of juicy info to share, and honestly another life-changing, transformational, profound experience. So before we get into that, if you're new here to the video, make sure you there's a red button somewhere, it says subscribe. Hit that, do us a massive favor. If you like these kinds of videos where I share trip reports, I share the science of psychedelics and what actually goes on in the brain, both from a neurochemical perspective and also from an emotional, transformational perspective, sharing my own experiences and the experiences of others. So if you have a question, or if you've had a similar trip or a similar kind of dosage, then I would love to hear from you in the comments. I often share my subscribers' stories in different videos, just to put out different ranges of experiences. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So, it's been about a year and a half since my last 5 gram heroic dose. You'll be able to find that video. I'm going to put a thingy-majig on the screen somewhere that will take you to that video, and you'll also find the link in the description. And I share my heroic dose, the 5 grams of Liberty caps, so different strain to what I had a few weeks ago here, and I wouldn't say a completely different experience, but you know, each has its own magic to it. So let's jump in, shall we? So just want to set things up here and share that set and setting is super important here. I'd not gone this high before, like that's an extra 50% of what I had previously of dried. So going from 5 grams to 7.5, I thought that was a pretty big step. So I invited my good friend Damien around, and he was just gonna trip sit for me, you know, as people recommend. I was in a great headspace, I was relaxed, I'd had a shower, I'd had a sauna, and I was ready. I was preparing all afternoon in terms of meditation, journaling, setting intentions, and of course, brewing the tea. So, and that's what I did, right? So I've had mixed experiences with mushrooms in regards to nausea. And there is something that I will share in another video about what happened in Amsterdam, but I really wanted to reduce the nausea as much as possible. So I opted to not ingest the actual mushroom matter. I just made the tea, and I added ginger, I added lemon, I added a little bit of honey in there, and I brewed the mushrooms for about 20 minutes. Extracted the tea, squeezed it out, and I was ready. So I did a short meditation with the brew, set an intention, fused it with some energies, right? You gotta do this. And I took it into my bedroom, put some really chilled music on, drank the brew, laid back and relaxed, and almost was preparing and embracing and getting ready for the feelings to start creeping in. So, you know, it'd been about an hour, and I was like, what's going on here? I could feel the rushes, the bodily sensations. It was kind of like filling up from my toes, the pulses that you get, you're feeling a little bit warmer, but nothing really crazy was happening. There was no visuals, no closed eye visuals, no internal dialogue. So the thoughts that were running through my head at this point were, have I extracted the psilocybin properly? Have I brewed the tea properly? Have I taken enough, right? All these thoughts of doubt crept in. And I was almost at the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna call it off. These are obviously not working. Let's just order a pizza and just chill. But obviously that wasn't the case, right? It was not the case at all. So we're about 90 minutes, 2 hours in, and shit is going wild, and in the best possible way. So this first initial portion of the trip was really about introspection and going deep into my mind and deep into my memories. And the amazing thing about mushrooms is psilocybin in particular, the active compound that gets absorbed into the body, gets broken down into psilocin, and that is what's causing the magic in the body, in the mind, with your consciousness. And what happens here for me is And this is quite common in psychedelic therapy, is you get flashes of scenes, right? So I was taken into different scenes of my life with different people. And I'll share a couple of those in a moment, but the overarching theme of this trip had to do with relationship, and we'll get to that again in just a moment. So before I knew it, I was getting taken down these rabbit holes, and one of the things that came up for me was relationships with women, and this idea that, have I really had that many women friends in my life, feminine friends that can add that kind of energy to help balance me out, to help talk through problems, challenges, issues, these things, right? The only real person that I can really think of was like my mom, and we don't have that. The relationship there is not as open as it could be, and we're going to get into this again in just a moment. So this was something that came up, and also how I relate to women in terms of opening up conversations and creating more abundance around that in my life. Something that's always been back of mind, of just basically being more human, being more curious, being more playful, being more interested in the people around me, and being able to express that without holding back from fear, right? This sense of isolation that I can sometimes get when I travel to a new country, because I feel this barrier, this block between me and some other person on the street, this idea that I'm in this city but I'm all alone, and how do I possibly get out there and make some new friends? And to me, there's sometimes been a barrier there, sometimes not. This can be very situational, but the fact that this has come up in previous trips on psilocybin, right, means that there is still some work to do here, and I totally agree. So that came up. My relationships with my brothers also came up, accompanied with lots of tears, which actually felt amazing. And so, and guys, you might have a similar situation to this at home. Like, I have a great relationship with my brothers, and there is this sense that there is another level of openness, another level of vulnerability, another level of sharing, right, from a non-judgmental place. And I feel that that level hasn't been fully reached yet. And issues that we've all had with addictions and mental health, is that brotherly unit, is that the first place we come? Is that the first place that we go for support, for guidance, for help, for wisdom? And more often than not, perhaps it isn't. Perhaps that's not the case. And I really feel that should be the first place that we go to. Family and brothers, really. That close communication, that close-knit bond is something that you really don't have with anyone else. So there appears to be another level of communication available there. And same thing with my mom and my parents, right? There's the idea that we've been brought up, and you talk about some things, but there's some things that you don't talk about, right? And it's this idea that, restricting the expression, restricting freedom of expression of how you feel, of something that you want to bring up, of the topics that you want to talk about, and this holding back, right? And I can see that, the reason why I'm in this position and these things have come up on this trip right now is because of that, I guess, that upbringing around, you can't say this, but you can say that, or we don't talk about this. And, specifically from my dad's side of, like, I'm a man, and, if we talk about our feelings, you're a girl and you're a pussy, and this kind of, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'll manage, I'm going to do this myself. That's kind of the vibes that I feel have influenced me as well from my dad's side. So really interesting stuff that came up. What else? Those were really the biggest. And the theme really was, life is meaningless without meaningful connections. And it's been my mission, my journey in life, to develop these meaningful connections. I love to go deep with people. I'd rather have 2 or 3 really solid, really close friends than a massive social circle of 15, 20 people. And so I've been on this quest, and I've been really lucky and fortunate and grateful to have met some amazing people here in Sofia, and have a really good friend here, Damien, and other connections around that have been really fulfilling for me. So definitely taking steps in the right direction, and I think trips like this help bring to the surface issues that you should really pay more attention to, because it's easy to sweep things under the carpet, right? And I'll hold my hands up. I've been using cannabis for a long time, and I often find that I use that to sweep things under the carpet, to hold back, or I guess refrain from feeling the discomfort, the awkwardness, the embarrassment that might happen if I plunge myself into an unusual, uncomfortable social situation, right? So I've seen this pattern come up. Anyway, enough about all that wild stuff, and this is just me sharing, and I really hope you don't mind me going in this much depth, because hopefully you'll get some value from it, and maybe you've experienced something similar yourself. Anyway, at this point my music had been turned off. There was so much going on internally, and I'm like, right, it's time to turn the light on. It's time to go and get the orange juice. So before the trip, I bought some freshly squeezed orange juice from the store, and I knew that this was going to be absolutely incredibly mind-blowing, and safe to say it was. So I crept out of my room, and obviously my friend was in my apartment, and it felt like I was emerging into the real world because there was someone else there, and it felt a bit weird. I gave him a hug, and I was like, I need to be on my own here right now. Got the orange juice, drank it. It was like an orgasm. It was unbelievable. And then I took my speaker. I was like, right, it's time to put some music on. There's an amazing track by Revolution called Feeling Alright. If you've not heard it, you're missing out. Go check it out. It's reggae, but it's acoustic, it's slow, and the lyrics are just incredibly meaningful and powerful for me. And so I put that track on, and honestly, I tried to sing along, but I just broke down in tears. Tears of joy, tears of sadness, just because I was connecting really deeply with the lyrics, and the lyrics just meant so much to me in that moment. It was unbelievable. To continue, I was on my roof, I was under the stars. I had my speaker with me, and I was playing Revolution live at Red Rocks. So last year I saw them at Red Rocks live for the first time. I didn't know they were playing. I've never heard of them before, and they were incredible. So I put one of their concerts on, their live concerts, and it felt like I was there. I was there at the Red Rocks with Revolution. I had my eyes closed. I was dancing around. I was allowing the energy to move my arms, to move my hands, and I was throwing all sorts of shapes. Like you would not believe. And it felt ecstatic. It felt so good. It felt like a release. It felt like I was connecting to something higher than myself and just allowing the music to move me. One of the most elated, ecstatic experiences I've had in my life, honestly. It was amazing. And as you can imagine, I was pretty exhausted after about half an hour of this. So I laid down under the stars, I looked up, and I felt this profound connection with the stars, with the universe, just looking up and like, hey, I'm made of stardust. This is where I came from. This is where my body came from. And we can go deep into quantum physics, into consciousness, into this duality of like the observer, and whether the universe would exist if I wasn't sitting here observing it. All these crazy questions can come up, but I was just relaxed in a sense of gratitude, of deep appreciation for life, and this is where I really find psychedelics to be extremely useful and beneficial for people, that might be in a bit of a tricky spot, depressed, anxious, lonely, upset, because I feel like mushrooms can really connect you to gratitude and appreciation for life, and this sense that you are not just this bag of bones, and this sense that this life is just this life, and that's it. And when you die, that's it. I'm strongly against that idea. I'm very much down the line of indefinite life extension, and this idea that we are consciousness. And consciousness before matter, right? And that our consciousness is eternal, is immortal, and that perhaps maybe sometime in the future we'll be able to achieve physical immortality, right? Or perhaps we might be able to have this body on earth and unplug from this particular matrix and project off to a different universe, a different planet, and live another life and have these different bodies on these different planets that we can inhabit. Anyway, I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole there. I realize this video is getting on pretty long. That was pretty much the experience. I had a pizza, had a spliff, and had a really good conversation with my friend who I'm really grateful for spending the time and looking after me. But honestly, I felt that I really did not need a trip sitter. The trip honestly wasn't as intense as I was expecting. It was pretty mind-blowing and very intense at times, but you know, I feel like I could have got a stronger extraction from the brew. This was one of the things that I thought of afterwards, because I gave the mushrooms, the extracted mushrooms, to my friend, and he had a wild time on them. So perhaps there was a lot more psilocybin left. So I'm going to recommend, if you guys are trying this, mushrooms are illegal pretty much everywhere. So I'm not going to condone this, but doing a double or triple extraction could definitely be a good shout if you are going for a high dosage, or even if you're going for a mild dose, to really get the full force there. But listen guys, that's it. Thank you for listening this far. If you've got this far in the video already, I'd love to know what you think in the comments. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video. This just really helps with the algorithm and stuff, you know. There's just things that we have to do to get these videos seen and in front of more people. I hope you found this valuable, and until next time guys, catch you on the flip side. Peace.